Did Dabney Coleman's wife just reveal a shocking truth about his life? At 92, this Hollywood icon's passing has unveiled secrets that no one expected. Stick around to uncover what she finally admitted about the legendary actor.
Fix all those things in the previews. Now look, I got a million things to do. I got to call the papers, rent a theater, and all I need from you is $300.
$300?
Yeah, a piece.
A piece?
Today, yeah.
The iconic rise of Dabney Coleman.
Give me one of those.
Bravo unit, Silver Pontiac need assist high speed southbound on East Seattle Parkway. Currently in pursuit, respond code 3.
That's it. What's it?
What if the character actor we all adored for playing despicable roles had more in common with those characters than we realized? Dabney Coleman's career spanned decades, but behind the Hollywood glamour, there are revelations about his life that will leave you speechless. A prolific character actor whose trademark was villainous egotists and endearing curmudgeons, Dabney Coleman was a recognizable film star during the 1980s, though he was ever present on television throughout the entirety of his 5-decade career. Among Coleman's most memorable film roles was the misogynist corporate boss of empowered Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, and Jane Fonda in 9 to 5 from 1980, and the egomaniacal soap opera director whose sexist attitude inspired the title Tootsie from 1982. On television, the Emmy and Golden Globe winner was among the busiest character players of the 60s before making his mark on the brilliant but canceled soap opera spoof Mary Hartman, syndicated from 76 to 77, before acclaimed leading roles on the sitcom The Slap Maxwell Story on ABC and the CBS legal drama The Guardian from 2001 to 2004. With his sharp comic timing and Texas drawl that simultaneously suggested folksiness and moral laxity, the mustachioed Coleman carved out a unique career as an instantly recognizable and improbably likable screen actor. From Texas roots to tragedy.
For decades, Dabney Coleman has often appeared as a smarmy, selfish, nervous person, often with money, who is mostly out for himself.
How does a boy from Austin, Texas, who lost his father at the age of 4, rise to become one of Hollywood's most memorable actors? Dabney Coleman's childhood was far from easy, but his early struggles laid the foundation for his unforgettable on-screen presence. Dabney Coleman was born the youngest of 4 children in Austin, Texas on January 3, 1932, to Randolph and Mary Johns Coleman. His father died from pneumonia when Dabney was 4 years old. He and his siblings were then raised by his mother in Corpus Christi, Texas. He attended Corpus Christi High School, where he excelled at tennis, becoming a nationally ranked junior tennis player. He spent 2 years at Virginia Military Institute, followed by another 2 years at the University of Texas in Austin. He later recalled that he didn't pass many courses and that he was too busy playing ping pong at the Phi Delta Theta House and calling girls. He was drafted into the United States Army in 1953 and served in West Germany in the Army's Special Services Division for 2 years, playing tennis across Europe for the Army and the local town. He entered the Virginia Military Institute in 1949. After being called up in 1953 to the U.S. Army, Coleman studied law at the University of Texas, where he did some acting before. Early career. What happens when a law school dropout from Texas decides almost on a whim to pursue acting at New York? Dabney Coleman's early career was anything but smooth sailing, but it set the stage for his rise as one of television's most distinctive actors. After flunking out of law school and inspired by an encounter with Zachary Scott, Coleman abruptly decided to pursue acting as a career. The next day, he flew to New York and started applying to acting schools. He enrolled in the Neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater in New York City, training with Sanford Meisner, and studied there from 1958 to 1960. Meisner told him, "You're ideal for us. You've lived some." Another one of his instructors was the future director Sidney Pollack, with whom Coleman would soon become friends. Soon after finishing his training under Meisner, Coleman made his Broadway debut in the short-lived A Call on Cupid in 1961. He followed that with summer stock performances on the East Coast, His first television role was on an episode of Naked City in 1961, which was filmed on location in New York City, and he earned $90 for the role. In 1962, he and his second wife, actress Jean Hale, moved to Los Angeles. He soon signed a contract with Universal and started work in television, appearing as a guest on various shows starting in the early 60s. For example, in a 1964 episode of the anthology series Kraft Suspense Theater titled The Threatening Eye, Coleman played private investigator William Gunther. In 1965, he landed his first movie role in The Slender Thread, which was also Pollack's directorial debut. It was through his theater school friendship with the director Sidney Pollack that Coleman had his break in Pollack's The Slender Thread, 1965, starring Sidney Poitier and Anne Bancroft. Pollack also gave Coleman roles in 3 of his further films: This Property is Condemned, 1966, The Scalp Hunters, 1968, and Tootsie, 1982. In the third of these, he is reliably unpleasant as the sexist soap opera director who patronizes TV star Dorothy Michaels, Dustin Hoffman. A year later, he played Dr. Leon Bessemer with Bonnie Scott as his wife Judy, neighbors and friends of the protagonist in Season 1 of That Girl, Episode 3, Never Change a Diaper on Opening Night. Noted for his mustache, which he grew in 1973, he appeared in the sitcom wearing horn-rimmed glasses and with no facial hair. Other early roles in his career included a U.S. Olympic skiing team coach in Downhill Racer, 1969, a sleazy merchant in The Trouble with Girls, 1969, starring Elvis Presley, a high-ranking fire chief in The Towering Inferno, 1974, a wealthy Westerner in Bite the Bullet, 1975, ski coach to Jill Kinmont, Marilyn Hassett in The Other Side of the Mountain, 1975, an account of the disabled skier's life. He portrayed an FBI agent in Attack on Terror, The FBI versus the Ku Klux Klan, 1975. Television seemed like Coleman's form in the 1970s. However, before 9 to 5 propelled him from a supporting actor into an occasional leading man, he was most celebrated in the satirical soap opera Mary Hartman from 1976 to 1977. Coleman was initially cast for 6 episodes as Merle Jeter, the duplicitous father of a child preacher, but his performance secured him a regular role on the show. The part was also the first time he played an unsavory character for comedic effect, which would become a frequent theme in his career. 9 to 5 and leading roles.
You've been telling everybody I'm sleeping with you, huh?
No.
Well, that explains it. That's why these people treat me like some dime store floozy.
No,
they think I'm screwing the boss.
That's not it at all.
Oh, and you just love it, don't you?
Dabney Coleman wasn't just a supporting actor. He redefined what it meant to play the villain. His roles in 9 to 5 and Tootsie solidified his reputation as Hollywood's go-to bad guy. But did his on-screen persona reflect who he really was?
I understand I'm still a boss here. And even though you might be pretty valuable out there, you better get a hold of yourself. I'm not going to sit here and take this. God damn it. Dorley, get in here!
Coleman landed the main antagonist part of Franklin Hart Jr., a sexist boss on whom 3 female office employees get their revenge in the 1980 film 9 to 5. It was this film that firmly established Coleman in the character type with which he was most identified and frequently played afterwards, a comic relief villain.
Judy, you've got to help me. That mob has gone crazy out there. They're trying to kill me.
Well, why would they want to do a nasty thing like that?
I don't know. I'm not such a bad guy.
You're a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
So I have a few faults.
Coleman followed 9 to 5 with the role of the arrogant, sexist soap opera director in Tootsie in 1982, also directed by Sidney Pollack.
You haven't changed at all, Emily.
Oh, but I have, Medford.
Post-Tootsie, he returned to television as a leading man and soon found his niche in several other miniseries, such as Buffalo Bill from 1983 to 1984, where he played the arrogant talk show host Bill Bittinger. Despite the unsympathetic title role, Coleman managed to reveal the character's vulnerability and received Emmy nominations for his sensitive performance. His leading role in The Slap Maxwell Story from 1987 to 1988, in which he highlighted another aspect of his macho screen persona as a reactionary sports writer, won him another Emmy nomination and a Golden Globe.
She's a lot older than she looks. Do you mind?
He also portrayed a con artist Broadway producer in The Muppets Take Manhattan, 1984.
Upholstery.
Hold it a minute. I'll get back here.
Mr. Price, I'm Kermit, and these are my friends, and we've got a show called Manhattan Melodies that we think you're going to want to produce on Broadway. Yeah. It's all about a couple of kids that come to New York City to get married, and it opens with a great number. It goes like this. Look at me, here I am, right here I am.
Played the nefarious raisin tycoon Tyler Kane in the satirical miniseries Fresno, 1986, and evoked Hugh Hefner as a lisping magazine mogul in the comedy Dragnet from 1987. Back on the big screen, he tapped into his ability to express sharp-edged humor in the popular but improbable Short Time, 1990, starring as a policeman who, months away from retirement, thinks he has a terminal illness and tries to take advantage of his pension by attempting to get killed on duty.
Hi.
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 In the same year, he appeared in drag, his signature mustache notwithstanding, in the wacky Meet the Applegates. He broke from type somewhat in other film roles. He appeared in the feature film On Golden Pond in 1981, playing the sympathetic fiancée of Chelsea Thayer Wayne, Jane Fonda. He also played a military computer scientist in War Games in 1983, and he played a dual role as a loving but busy father, as well as his son's imaginary hero in Cloak and Dagger, 1984.
I'll tell you what, Davy. Maybe you better go on up to the airport without me.
No, I can't.
No. Listen, you're a hero now, Davy. You don't need an old jelly blaster like me anymore.
While Coleman frequently transitioned between roles in film and television, it was his television performances that earned him the most formal recognition at awards. He received his first Emmy Award nomination for his lead role as a skilled but self-centered TV host in Buffalo Bill. In 1987, he received an Emmy Award for his role in the television film Sworn to Silence. Although smartly written and featuring a fine ensemble cast, it lasted only 2 seasons. Later that year, Coleman starred in The Slap Maxwell Story from 1987 to 1988, playing a cantankerous sports writer. Although the show was short-lived, Coleman won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Television Series, Musical or Comedy for the role in 1988. Despite these accolades, many of Coleman's television shows featuring him playing to type as acerbic characters, including award-winning shows like Buffalo Bill and The Slap Maxwell Story, were noted for struggles with low ratings and brief runs. Other series like Drexel's Class from 1991 to 1992 and Madman of the People from 94 to 95 faced similar challenges. Other roles. From tormenting Muppets to playing a sleazy banker, Dabney Coleman's career is filled with unforgettable roles. But it's his ability to make the worst characters compelling that made him stand out. What drove him to excel in these roles? You'll want to know. In other comedic film roles, he played Bobcat Goldthwait's boss in the 1988 talking horse comedy Hot to Trot, and befuddled banker Milburn Drysdale in the feature film The Beverly Hillbillies in 1993, which reunited him with 9 to 5 co-stars Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton. Continuing his streak of comic foils, Coleman played Charles Grodin's sleazy boss Gerald Ellis in Clifford, 1994, co-starring Martin Short. From 1997 to 2001, Coleman provided the voice of Principal Prickly on the animated series Recess. He also played a philandering father in You've Got Mail, 1998, and a police chief in Inspector Gadget, which reunited him with his War Games co-star Matthew Broderick. Later career.
Why don't we just take a look at these inappropriate things you're saying with your wardrobe, huh? Like, the Humpty Dance, Bartman. Well, that's Bart Simpson. I don't know. To me, say what you will, but to me, Bart has it all over that little brown-nosed Mickey Mouse.
Dabney didn't slow down as he aged. In fact, his later career saw him taking on even more complex characters. What led him to play roles that exposed the darker side of humanity, and how did his personal life influence these performances? In his later career, Coleman took on more consistently serious roles, notably portraying Burton Fallon in the TV series The Guardian from 2001 to 2004. In an interview with the Associated Press, Coleman described his dream job as a serious show about a serious subject, good writing, good actors, and said that his role on The Guardian was kind of that dream come true. He also appeared as a casino owner in 2005's Domino. In 2009, Coleman served as an interviewer and participant in Character, a documentary about the craft of acting with Peter Falk, Charles Grodin, Sidney Pollack, Mark Rydell, and Harry Dean Stanton. For 2 seasons, from 2010 to 2011, Coleman was a series regular on HBO's Boardwalk Empire, sharing 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series.
So what do you think? Are we going to listen to that sour-faced, virtually untouched old maid of a principal? No! I thought you'd say that, so I...
His most recent roles were a small part in Warren Beatty's Howard Hughes comedy Rules Don't Apply in 2016 and a guest role as Kevin Costner's dying father in Yellowstone in 2019. On November 6, 2014, Coleman received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and was honored with the 2017 Mary Pickford Award for his contributions to the entertainment industry. Hollywood Walk of Fame.
President and CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, which is presenting today's program. Today, Hollywood honors Dabney Coleman.
When I was called to...
Receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is the pinnacle for any actor, but for Dabney Coleman, it was a moment of validation. After decades of playing the villain, how did Hollywood finally honor the man behind the mustache? The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce proudly honored actor Dabney Coleman with the 2,533rd star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Thursday, November 6, 2014 at 11:30 a.m. The star in the category of television was unveiled at 6141 Hollywood Boulevard in front of the newly developed East Town. Along with friends and family, actress Penelope Ann Miller was on hand for the festivities. Helping MC and Hollywood Chamber President/CEO Lee Ron Gubler to unveil the star were directors Dennis Klein and Mark Rydell, who worked with Coleman. The charismatic Dabney Coleman has a well-deserved reputation as one of Hollywood's finest actors. He constantly delivers characters with diverse and poignant roles, stated Lee Ron Gubler. We are pleased to welcome him to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Coleman's despicable, egotistical, insecure Bill Bittinger on Buffalo Bill earned him a Golden Globe nomination and 2 Emmy Award nominations. As an unsavory sports writer in The Slap Maxwell Story, Coleman received an Emmy Award nomination and won a Golden Globe Award. Much of Coleman's earlier television work was in comedy, yet his roles were equally rich in drama. He was nominated for a Golden Globe and won an Emmy for his dramatic performance in the television movie Sworn to Silence opposite Liam Neeson and Peter Coyote. He received an Emmy nomination for the miniseries Baby M, one of the first shows to deal with surrogate mothers, and got another Emmy nomination for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series for a role in Columbo. He was nominated for a Cable Ace Award for his performance in the HBO television special Murrow. Personal life.
Doc, why don't we just have a second here? You come here, you talk good, you're obviously a very well-dressed, intelligent man, but I wonder if we could just put a few cards on the table for a minute. Therapeutic Massage Center, isn't that just another way of saying porno palace?
What? You did something terrible.
They own him.
Once again, big lawsuit.
I'm just...
Behind the scenes, Dabney Coleman's personal life was just as complex as the characters he portrayed. His relationships, his health battles, and his private struggles revealed a side of him that few people knew. What secrets did his wife finally reveal? Coleman was married to Anne Courtney Harrell from 1957 to 1959 and Jean Hale from 1961 to 1984. He had 4 children, Megan, Kelly, Randy, and Quincy. Coleman was an avid tennis player, winning celebrity and charity tournaments. He played mainly at the Riviera Country Club, as well as in local tournaments. He was also known for being a regular at Dan Tana's restaurant in West Hollywood, where a large New York steak is named after him. When Coleman received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an after-party was held at Dan Tana's to celebrate the occasion. His favorite sports team was the St. Louis Browns, which are now the Baltimore Orioles. Coleman was involved in several such charities as the Christian Children's Fund, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and the Wounded Warrior Project. In the 1980s and 1990s, it was noted by several journalists that Coleman chain-smoked cigarettes during his interviews. In one of those same articles, he was described as a lean and impossibly fit-looking 62 years old by the New York Times in 1994. In 2011, Coleman started treatment for throat cancer, which sometimes affected his ability to speak. The diagnosis led to a rapid rewrite and early filming of his scenes for the second season of Boardwalk Empire. In a 2012 interview, he discussed his experience filming the series while dealing with cancer, lighting up a cigarette at one point during the interview, and mentioned that he no longer had cancer. Death.
News, we've just learned that Emmy-winning actor Dabney Coleman has passed away at the age of 92. The character actor's career stretched for 6 decades with numerous TV appearances from Mary Hartman to Boardwalk Empire. But many will remember him best for his role as the sexist boss from Hell in 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin.
The world lost a legend when Dabney Coleman passed away at 92. But his death wasn't just another Hollywood story. It was a culmination of decades of hidden truths and unresolved mysteries. What was the cause of his death, and what did his family finally admit? Dabney Coleman, the popular comic actor from 9 to 5, Tootsie, and Mary Hartman, whose many redeeming qualities, including a knack for portraying characters who had none, has died. He was 92. Coleman died Thursday at his home in Santa Monica. His daughter, singer Quincy Coleman, told The Hollywood Reporter. Coleman died at his home in Santa Monica, California on May 16, 2024 of cardiac arrest due to dysphagia and heart failure. Prior to his death, Coleman also suffered from underlying health issues, dysphagia, difficulty swallowing, and chronic systolic congestive heart failure, his death certificate stated, per The Blast. My father crafted his time here on earth with a curious mind, a generous heart, and a soul on fire with passion, desire, and humor that tickled the funny bone of humanity, she said. As he lived, he moved through his final act of his life with elegance, excellence, and mastery. A teacher, a hero, and a king, Dabney Coleman is a gift and blessing in life and in death, as his spirit will shine through his work, his loved ones, and his legacy eternally, her statement continued. Tributes.
You have kind of an attitude on you, don't you? But I like that in a person. Yeah, I like a guy who shows up a little feisty. Yeah. But you're like that all your life, aren't you?
I'm Dabney Coleman. That's what I do for a living. All I need from you is $300. A piece. More fun playing bad guys.
Pete Killian died at 11:30 this morning.
Oh, he's dead. I thought you said he was here. Pete's dead?
When a Hollywood icon dies, tributes pour in. But for Dabney Coleman, the heartfelt words from his peers tell a story of respect and admiration. What did fellow stars like Dolly Parton and Ben Stiller have to say about the man behind the unforgettable characters? Ben Stiller, James Woods, John Ailes, and more Hollywood notables have taken to social media to pay tribute to Dabney Coleman. Following the news of his death, fellow actor Stiller took to X, formerly Twitter, to write, "The great Dabney Coleman literally created, or defined really, in a uniquely singular way, an archetype as a character actor. He was so good at what he did, it's hard to imagine movies and television of the last 40 years without him." Woods, who also lent his voice to the 2001 animated movie Recess, School's Out, alongside Coleman, shared on social media. I've gone to Dan Tana's restaurant regularly all my adult life. Dabney Coleman was always there, sitting in booth number 1, appropriately, having his trademark steak. I'd always loved him as an actor and loved him more as we became friends. Rip Dabney Coleman.
How I feel, but when I saw you tonight, my throat was dry. I could barely breathe.
The Emmy winner's Madman of the People co-star John Ailes wrote in a tribute, "As a kid, I don't think I found any villain more likable than mean Dabney Coleman. We shared a birthday. Months after my dad passed away, Dabney played my dad for the first time. We had countless dinners together. He was a complicated, hilarious genius who was so sweet to my mom." On May 20, Dolly Parton wrote of the late actor in a post to X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram, "Dabney was a great actor and he became a dear friend. He taught me so much when I was doing my first movie 9 to 5. He was funny, deep, and smart. We remained friends through the years, and I will miss him greatly, as many people will," the music legend 78 added. Actress Lily Tomlin also honored Coleman with a poignant post on X as she shared a photo of the pair from 9 to 5 on May 17. "We just loved him," the actress wrote alongside the image. There were more reactions and tributes to Coleman's death from Hollywood. On Saturday, NBC's Saturday Night Live also paid tribute to Coleman with the title card at the end of the live season 49 finale. Remembrance and legacy.
If you grew up in the 80s, you know him. The older guy with the mustache, always seemed a little angry, remind you of your dad's boss. No, not Wilford Brimley, not Charles Bronson, not Danny Glover. There he is, Dabney Coleman. He was most likely a huge part of your childhood without you even realizing it, because he was everywhere, and he's one of my favorite actors. I know, that seems weird, but does it? Let's backpedal a bit, and maybe you will understand why.
Dabney Coleman wasn't just a character actor, he was a trailblazer. His roles, his style, and his unique approach to acting changed the landscape of Hollywood. How will he be remembered, and what lasting impact did he leave on the industry? Dabney Coleman was the perfect on-screen jerk. Maybe likability is overrated. You don't have to be likable to be fun. A lot of actors resist this truth. Dabney Coleman embraced it. From the 70s through the end of the millennium, if there was a hot script with a meaty role for somebody who was good at playing slime bags, cowards, betrayer, bastards, rat bastards, sons of bitches, and pains in the ass, Coleman probably booked it. And if he didn't, his coffee stains were probably on it. After a while, it was even called the Dabney Coleman part, also offered to Paul Gleason or Willie Matherton, who were both in Die Hard, a film with multiple Dabney Coleman parts, yet, strangely, no Dabney Coleman. Coleman's signature role was the sexist boss in the 1980 smash 9 to 5, a man so loathsome, pompous, and useless that each of the film's 3 put-upon leads, played by Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin, got her own scene in which she turns the tables on him. Every time, the audience cheered. His character is repeatedly called in rapid-fire cadence a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot. And in one scene, Parton threatens to pull a pistol from her purse and turn him from a rooster to a hen in one shot. In advance of the film's 40th anniversary re-release, Coleman told interviewers that when he read the script, "I knew it was for me." The first person to identify a Dabney Coleman part was Dabney Coleman.
Spare me the women's lib crap, okay? Now, I know how you feel, and I understand it.
You understand zilch.
I understand I'm still a boss here. And even though you might be pretty valuable out there, you better get a hold of yourself. I'm not going to sit here and take this. God damn it. Norley, get in here!
Before 9 to 5 made him a movie poster's name, he played the hard-driving coach of Robert Redford's hotshot skier in Downhill Racer, and the fire chief in the 1974 disaster film The Towering Inferno, who was mainly there to be a foil for the heroes, Gleason and Atherton's Die-Hard characters were his descendants, Steve McQueen's heroic firefighter, and Paul Newman's architect. After we got to know him, he tormented the Muppets in The Muppets Take Manhattan in 1984. He was Martin Short's slimy boss in the infamous film Clifford from 1994. He played the boss who barks orders and fumes and sputters at the title character of Inspector Gadget, 1999. He was the crotchety banker Mr. Drysdale in the film version of The Beverly Hillbillies from 1993, and the greedball who cheers whenever another independent store bites the dust in You've Got Mail, 1999. In War Games, 1983, he was the snarling, insinuating Air Force computer science officer who grilled Matthew Broderick's young hacker like a bratwurst, then disintegrated when it seemed as if Armageddon were nigh. The millennial generation's gateway to Coleman appreciation was probably the cartoon series Recess, premiering in 1997, in which he played the principal Peter Prickly, a reflexive authoritarian with a soft center. His greatest late-in-life monster role was as Commodore Louis Kaestner, aka the Commodore, on HBO's Boardwalk Empire, who makes Noah Cross in Chinatown seem like a comparatively well-adjusted guy. The mentor of Steve Buscemi's civic leader and gang boss, the Commodore is a racist and misogynist bully who's so abusive that his own housekeeper tries to poison him, and a rapist and pedophile who impregnates one of the show's heroines, Jillian Darmody, Gretchen Mol, as a child. Coleman was from Austin, Texas, and had the drawl to prove it. He was also a fascinating actor whose technique and temperament straddled two eras. He was born in 1938, too early to be called a boomer. His performances could have just as easily fit into the early part of the century as the rest of it. Like many actors of his generation, he was Meisner-trained and worshipped the method stars of the 1950s, but there was a hard, old-school simplicity to his work, especially in comedy parts. You could imagine him as a creep in a late 1940s Cary Grant movie, but when his characters started to lose it and crack apart at the seams, he showed a little bit of that Charles Grodin Albert Brooks willingness to wallow. In 1983, he got an entire sitcom built around him, Buffalo Bill, in which he played a toxic narcissist of a TV talk show host who steamrolled other people every waking moment of his life. During a local news interview that year, the host read aloud from a newspaper review of the premiere that described Bill as a hypocrite, a coward, a misogynist, a grasping, rude, vain person.
Timetable.
Because I know,
right here on
I know
this
they're closed
chart,
on weekends.
in terms of plants and insects and, of course, human beings. You see, the human body has a very delicate balance of its own chemicals. And when this balance is thrown off, we must avoid all the toxins.
Excuse me, please, okay? Yeah, it is the Buffalo Bill show. For a minute there, I was beginning to wonder.
He's the hilarious, the most outrageous character on television. Truly an unsentimental cad. Coleman deadpanned. She lied, I never touched her, then looked away for a minute as if dissociating and said quietly, I remember that interview. Audiences were repulsed by the show, and it was canceled after a year, but TV scholars now discuss it as the first major sitcom whose lead was an anti-hero with few redeeming qualities. 4 years later, Coleman did another sitcom, The Slap Maxwell Story, in which his title character, a newspaper sports writer, was sarcastic, aggressive, and full of himself, but had a dose of heart. That one was canceled after a year, too. We don't think twice about a show like that or characters like that today. Married with Children hit Fox the same year after that Slap Maxwell debuted on CBS, and The Jerks of Seinfeld arrived soon after. An unlikable lead ceased to be a deal breaker. It's possible that Coleman's high-profile flops helped get audiences used to the idea that a lead doesn't have to be likable to be compelling. You can make the case that every such lead is ultimately a variation of a Dabney Coleman part. They're all either Buffalo Bill or Slap Maxwell. David Brent is Buffalo Bill. Michael Scott is Slap Maxwell. Coleman took these sorts of characters as far as they could go in whatever medium contained them. I don't take credit for being the first, he told Vulture a few years ago. I would give that to Carol O'Connor. But sure, I was one of the first. It's fun playing those roles. You get to do outlandish things things that you want to do probably in real life, but you just don't because you're a civilized human being. I couldn't imagine anyone not loving playing those parts. He found things in scripts, pockets of misery, hints of perversity, pools of darkness that the writers might not have had the temerity to imagine, tore them open, and spread discomfort across the screen like a brown oil slick. There were so many little variations in the Dabney Coleman parts that somehow you never thought about his being typecast, even if he was. No matter how low the characters went, there was always the possibility that they could go lower. In his no-fuss way, he was a dangerous actor. Thanks for watching. If you were blown away by this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more shocking Hollywood revelations. Check out our other videos for more untold stories and secrets from the stars. See you in the next one.
Tell you something. I haven't heard so much sweet talk since my first date with my girlfriend Lucille.